Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Soul Sunday. Listen, it's a pleasure having you here. As you guys know, I'm your host, Melvin Casey Lars, and as we await our guest, the Pastor Dunzel Hughes, we just want to give you a quick introduction and get you guys rolling and get you started. But listen, our motto here is hope, innovation, motivation, transformation, and destination. Because see, anything less would be an abomination. So we want you guys to understand that each Sunday we come to you at 5 p.m. and we come for the express purpose of doing just what we said, to offer you hope, to assist you with innovation, to lend you some motivation, and to help you transform your lives and transform your thoughts. So, guys, listen, thank you so very much for being here today. And again, I'm your host, Melvin Casey Lars. My guest this evening is none other than Pastor Dunzel Hughes. Now, Pastor Hughes is not only pastor of the St. Elizabeth Baptist Church. Pastor Hughes is a gospel vocalist, he's an entrepreneur, he's an activist, and he will be talking to us today about faith and works. Now, as we all know, many people, especially the clergy, when you are speaking about certain things, it's always, well, just have to have faith. But, we don't really ever talk to you about, excuse me, maybe supporting scripture or what really having faith is and what is required. Now, unfortunately, what happens so many times is that people leave off not only should you have faith, but it always says very clearly, faith without works is dead. Now, in anyone's analogy, we all understand that we have to do something other than say that we believe and we have faith. All of us are very familiar with the passages. There's not a passage, but all of us are very familiar with the situation of saying, we say, well, what would Jesus do? As a matter of fact, we have to give that credit to Madea, because Madea being Tyler Perry is given credit for having coined that phrase. What would Jesus? We'd like to welcome our guest, Brother Moses. Glad you're here. Come on in. Grab that spot. Or say, grab this spot right next to me, and come on in, and let's get this thing rolling hot and heavy here, so we can have faith. But as we talk about having faith, we want to make it very clear that, and Pastor Hughes is going to elaborate on this much more, but we want all of our audience to understand the Bible clearly states faith without works is dead. So that means what? That I have a friend named Derek Pledger. Derek is from New York, but he now resides in Ohio. And Derek always says, hey, man, you got to put some feet on them prayers. And his actually is Dr. Derek Pledger. And Dr. Derek Pledger is extremely correct. We have to put some feet on our prayers. So when we cite things like Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, that's very true. But see, sometimes we forget that part of it. I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. And paraphrase, some of the Bibles may say, who strengthens me, etc. So that tells us right up front that because someone say, well, pray about it, well, let's have faith. Yes, that is first, foremost, and number one. But after we finish praying, whether we are kneeling on our knees, whether we are sitting, whether we are someplace quiet, whether we are trying to get our prayer on, if I might say, even in the midst of having other people present, we still have to commit an action to help back up what it is we say we're praying about. So again, we want to welcome our guest, Brother Moses. If you come on in, Brother Dunzel Hughes Sr., by the way, and he's going to be talking with us today, guys. So, and if any of you guys have any questions, please feel free to put those questions in the box to my right. And feel free also, if you like what you're hearing, like what you're seeing, please donate. Donate to us so we can keep this thing going and we can bring you more rich verbiage and share more information. Now, for those of you that have been here the last 2 Sundays and have visited with me, as you guys know, we tell you all the time this is not a preaching segment. However, it is a segment where we talk about many things that are biblical, how the Bible relates to what it is we're talking about. We share scriptures with you, etc. But you don't have to worry. No one's going to preach to you, but we are going to allow you to ask questions and to come in and join with us. Now, let me see here. Okay, I need to share with Brother Moses that he have to be in the Google Chrome browser. So if Brother Moses and our other guests that want to join us live, you have to go to getvocal.com in the Google browser. Just use the link that we shared and use that. You have to use a Google browser, not the, so that's sometimes difficult to get in. But we are so happy to have you here, and we thank you very much. So Brother Moses will be joining us momentarily. But guys, listen, let's just go back a little bit while we're waiting on Brother Moses to join us. And let's talk a little bit about Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Now, we know that there are so many challenges that we're met with on a daily basis, many times on a weekly basis, on a minute basis, I should say. And there's so many things that we are confronted, and we get frustrated. We want to sometimes throw in the towel. We want to many times let's be pugilistic and throw hands and all of that kind of thing. And we don't take time to really think about how the devil works and how the devil operates. You know, we know he comes to kill, steal, and destroy, and to sift us like wheat. So as we are talking today about sharing hope and about innovations and motivation and transformation and getting to a destination. Now, just to give you a little bit more about Brother Hughes, not only is Brother Hughes a pastor, as we shared coming into the program, he's a gospel artist, he's an entrepreneur, and he's an activist. And he's recently moved a program with a program he is spearheading called Stop, Please Stop the Killing. Now, you may say, well, how am I supposed to have faith in someone just murdered someone close to me? And I've been praying to God and been trying to get God to listen to me. And I'm asking him to keep me safe, to keep my family safe, to keep my friends safe. And unfortunately, someone lost his or her life. Well, none of us have the answer, other than the fact that we know this, that God does answer prayers. We know this, that many times we come into situations where doors seem to be closed, but they ultimately open. And as Pastor Hughes get with us, we want to remind all of you again, when you see, grab this spot that is a camera, and we want you guys, you're welcome to grab a spot. Pastor Hughes will be grabbing a spot shortly. But we want to use this time to talk to Pastor Hughes. And I don't want to waste all of your time talking. Pastor Hughes, great to be with you, brother.
How you doing, Dr. Laws?
Listen, I'm right here, and I'm so happy that you're here. And as we were sharing your introduction, I was sharing with our audience that yes, you are a pastor. However, you are a professional gospel singer. You're an activist. You're an entrepreneur. I know you've owned several businesses. I don't know how many you own now. Sometimes when they make those jokes about the Jamaicans, I think about you sometimes, Pastor Hughes,
Yes, sir.
because they talk about all the jobs that the Jamaicans have, and I know I think you do your deputy sheriff thing in DeSoto Parish, and so it's just so many things that you do. So listen, since we're here, I got the program started already, Pastor Hughes, and let me just ask you if you share with the audience a little bit about you, then we'll move on into the program and talk about your Stop the Killing movement and some other things that we'll talk about, and we'll try to get you in and out of here in 30 minutes or less.
Okay. First of all, we apologize for being late. We had to get everything situated, and it works pretty good on the phone. I hope you can't hear me, right?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. And we are honored to be with you, Brother Lars, Dr. Lars, Professor Arthur Lars, all that good stuff. But yes, sir, we're just trying to do what we do. As you said, we've been pastoring the St. Louis Baptist Church down in the big city of Grand Cane. We've been there about 23 years now. We've been a part of the Soda Parish Sheriff Department about 3 years, and we've been doing Please Stop the Killing since February of 2019. We wrote the song Please Stop the Killing, and we've had T-shirts, wristbands, yard signs. We did the two-city march on the bridge downtown, Texas Street Bridge, and we did a walking Bossier, but we've been walking since 2019. We've done 2 walks in Cedar Grove. We did some of the Martin Luther King Drive area earlier this year before the pandemic hit. And it's just something that, you have to bring awareness to people. And I found out you can have as many meetings and discussions and committees and strategies and all that planning, but the real down to earth thing to get done is you got to get in those streets. You got to
Which brings us
law.
Which brings us directly covering our topic, Pastor Hughes. As you know, our topic tonight is about faith and works. So you're already telling us about works, and so please continue and share with our audience. If you want to share scripture, obviously feel free. But marry the two for us, please. Marry the two. Marry faith and works, please.
Well, I mean, as you just said, the scripture, faith without works is dead. So, I mean, you got to have works to follow your faith, but you got to have faith in order to work, So, I mean, they work together, and faith, of course, is what we believe that's there, but we don't see it until we act out on it. And so you just have to be willing, again, like we were saying, you have to step out on faith, get out of your comfort zone, stop thinking everything gonna change because we become Facebook protesters, but it's not gonna happen like that, and we have a lot of people that does that, but when it comes down to it, they know where to be found. But you have to put works in your faith. I mean, Jesus, when he said you have not, could you ask not, but at the same time, you have to ask in faith, believing that it will come to pass. So you got to have works. You got to have it.
Now, Pastor Hughes, speaking of that, let me ask you this question. Now, what would you say is the state of the Black church and its role in race relations? Because what you're doing right now, obviously, has a big part to play in human relations. But and you just finished sharing with us, about a lot of people want to talk and they want to do Facebook protests and that kind of thing. And as we know, a lot of people, especially people of color, we depend on having actions come from the church. So if you can share with us a little bit what your thoughts are about the Black church and the role of the Black church in race relations.
Well, I don't know. You want to ask me that question right now because I got issues with the Black church right now.
Yes, I do want to ask you.
Okay, well, because even during the pandemic, and I've been saying at our church, why do we act like we're afraid to go to church? The Blacks and Caucasians, do we have the same God or we got two different gods? Think about it. Our churches, you have people still saying, well, we're going to not go into church yet. Why? Where's your faith? Come on, we're going right back to what we're saying. But our Caucasian counterparts, they're back full. Between your house and the next time you go to church, go by the Caucasian church. They're in there. And we're the only ones talking about we don't want to have gatherings or we scared. For what? You put that mask on and go to your job nowadays, 8-10 hours a day. You go to Walmart, Brookshire's, you go to barbershop, beauty shop, you go all these places and you be gone from your house more than an hour, but you can't come to church. And that bothers me. And God has blessed us. We've been back in our sanctuary since first Sunday in July. for our church anniversary. Every Sunday we gain more and more members. And I'm okay with that. But to still be sitting out saying we just gonna wait. What are you waiting on? Where's your faith, right? And the works is putting on your mask, social distance, do everything that is asking you to do. And because matter of fact, I preached today, Pastor Lars, about God first, but seek ye first the kingdom of God, Matthew 6:33. But seek ye first the kingdom of God, his righteousness, and all these other things will be added unto us. But if the Bible say put God first, why are we putting him last? Because we put everything else in front of God. We do everything else Monday through Saturday. We go to graduations, gatherings, birthday parties, get-togethers, barbecues, and all that kind of stuff. But you can't go to church for 1 hour with your mask on. You know, spread out. Your church can be small, but you still can spread out. You know, but again, that's on that tip. But as far as the community, the church has to get out the four walls. If we pull together 10 Black Baptist churches in your area, Methodist churches, you might have 2 with an evangelistic ministry. Out of 10, you might have 2 with a effective operating evangelistic ministry. Aren't we supposed to go out into the highways and hedges and compel men to come into his house that his house may be filled? That great supper is the word. That great supper is heaven. That great supper is glory. You know, come on, we can't have people missing out on the great supper while we sitting in the church or barely sitting in the church nowadays, or whatever the case may be. You got to be able to come out the four walls. You know, when it hit back in March, I'm over the Ministers Fellowship in DeSoto Parish, and I had like 12 churches with us, and we said, look, if people are not working, some people don't have food, a lot of people's jobs are shutting down or whatever. We did, brother, I don't know if I told you, brother, but we did about 3,000 meals, hot meals, from March to May in DeSoto Parish.
Fantastic.
Every Wednesday evening, because we wasn't having church, you know. So get out the walls and do something to help the people. And then, of course, in May, we did about right at a little over 1,000 on Mondays in Bossier. So in May, we were in Bossier on Mondays, Mansfield, DeSoto Parish on Wednesdays, you know, for 3 months, and then Bossier in May. So it's things you can do to help still be the church and let people not forget about the church. So I hope I answered your question.
No, yeah. Listen. That's great, because I'm fixing to ask you another one that hinges right off of that one. Now, what responsibilities do you feel as a pastor, as a parent, as an activist, as a professional artist? What responsibilities do you feel are incumbent upon our pastors, bishops, etc., to ensure that equality is at the forefront of this reform movement currently taking place right now across the country?
I mean, like I guess like we're saying now, it has to start at the head. You know, it has to start with that pastor. What that pastor believe or can seek or try to, I guess I don't want to say gain something from it, but at the same time, I thought about something the other day where a lot of times we as pastors in some ministries, we get caught up on us and we, when we need to be more concerned about them and they, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Because a lot of times you can ask people, say, well, hey, can you all join us on a Wednesday night? You know, we just want to have a community get together. Then some pastors will say, well, this is what we do. Or this is what we do. This is what us do on such and such. We may not be able to come, because this is what we do. You know, it's all about us. But shouldn't it be more about them and they? You know, and again, it goes back to you. I mean, okay, true ministry, as far as Christ represents, is not what you can do for you, but what you do for others. How you can sacrifice you to help be a blessing to others. Now, that's the ministry of Christ. But our ministry nowadays is, what can I get out of it, and what you gonna do for me after it's all over?
Wow. That, Pastor Hughes, that's a mouthful. You know,
yes.
And if I can revert back to the original, to our topic, when we talk about faith and when we talk about works. And as you've so eloquently shared, is that far too many of those of us that are in the ministry, that's pastoring, etc., and those that are close to that seat, worry too much about themselves as opposed to, as you say, them and they. So in today's society, where we have the pandemic, where we have a revolution going on across the country, where we and you started off so eloquently by sharing is that it starts from the top. In your walk, where do you see the biggest divide as far as not actually acting on the faith that we say we have? And we all love to talk about, well, the Bible says faith without works is dead, or you have to believe, or I believe in Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So where, in your experience, have you seen the biggest divide from marrying? And I want to stay with that, because I really want our audience to understand that we are actually talking about faith and works. So, in your professional opinion and in your walk, because you do it all the time, where do you see the biggest divide?
As far as race or within
Race
the church?
and race, as far as being, quote, multiracial in other groups, and just human beings as a whole, when it comes to having faith, but not and the big divide between having the faith and being willing to do the work once we get up off our knees praying, I guess is what I really want to say.
I think one of the biggest divides now are more generation division. I think you and I believe I can say you and I, we kind of borderline between that school that was in front of us compared to the school that's coming behind us, and they see things differently. And it's our generation that's in the middle. So if we don't teach and train what we've learned from the school in front of us to the generation behind us, it may not, think about it, it may not be a church as we know it.
Interesting.
Even if for the racial part, because this generation, they ready. They will get out there in a heartbeat. They are super ready. But the generation in front of us is saying, well, we did what we could, let them young folks have it. But no, they still need guidance.
Absolutely.
They still need the people that's been there and done that. So again, Pastor Lord, if our generation don't do anything, we don't even know what it's going to look like later.
Allow me one moment to welcome Maya. Maya, she's always here on our shows, and she always supports us. She's a great friend, a great person, and I just want to welcome Maya to our set. Maya, great to see you, and we're happy that you're here. And as always, Maya, see, Pastor Hughes, Maya knows the drill. She knows she can grab a camera and come on and FaceTime us and ask any questions she like live right now, and so can all of our guests. So for those that are joining us for the first time, and I'm looking at some of my monitors here, feel free, if you have a direct question for Pastor Hughes, just click on one of those cameras. Or if you're uncomfortable coming on camera, then just please write your comments. I don't know how your computers are situated, but you'll see a space over there with some information going on. Feel free to write your information there. But Pastor Hughes, I'd like to ask you one or two more questions. I don't want to hold you all day. I know you've preached sermons today, and I know Sundays are really busy days for pastors. But I just on a personal level, especially when it comes to faith, there's so much out there biblically, and everybody try to paraphrase what faith is. And we look at the New International Version of the Bible, and we look at the King James Version, and we look at the New Age and all of that stuff. And really, when you get through looking at all of that, they all say the same thing, which that's solid. But sometimes people say, well, I guess, Pastor, it's kind of like a song. With you being a songwriter, And it's kind of like a song that I used to say to my wife. I said, I don't think people really hear the words in this song. And I think what is it? Take Me to the King. When Take Me to the King came out, and they started singing that song, and it talk about I'm all prayed out, I'm all cried out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know that people really hear those words when they hear a song. So if we were to say for just for our listening guests, is what might we share as either bishops or pastors or ministers, etc., when a parishioner come to us and say, well, it's not that I don't believe in God, but I've prayed and I've cried, I've done everything I'm supposed to do. I'm just shot. You know, what else can I do? What might you say to that person?
Um, well, my pastor, the late Dr. Emil Hunt, preached a sermon a few times. What to do when you don't know what to do, and really the conclusion of that statement is, I guess what you just said. That's to pray. Seek God. I mean, after you've done all you can, Donnie McClurkin says stand. I mean, it's again, I guess, Pastor, it goes back to your own personal mindset, your own personal beliefs, your own personal desires of becoming closer to God, knowing that He can and He will provide, He will make a way. He's a healer, He's a lawyer, He's all of that. And that's true, you know. So I think it goes back to the mindset of the individual. And it also goes back to just even the ministry that they are part of, you know. So, I mean, and I guess, again, in today's time, we're more into, I guess, like we were saying, like the TV and technology. Some people, because if you think about it too, Lars, the hard part is not, I guess, people coming back to church, is if people want to come back to church. Because, we've been sitting out and it becomes so convenient to use your Cash App, PayPal, and things to send your tithe and offering and all of that. And I mean, I don't know. But again, I think it goes back to answer your question, that person's personal individual mindset, and having them to look back and say, well, look, if God did it before, He can do it again. If He made a way for you once before, He can make a way again. If He healed you once before, that same God can heal you again. So it just and the people that are around, the positive people that need to be in our lives. I mean, we all need that, because we all do. We all get discouraged. We all get frustrated. We all get to that point where you think, is anybody listening to anything I'm saying? You do. And sometimes the best sermons you think you done preached is like, okay, but some of the most powerful sermons are the ones that God has put His hand on to touch the hearts of the people. So again, I think it's that individual mindset of how they want to live and how they want to do the rest of their own lives.
Well, listen, as a gospel artist and a gospel and a writer, now I know, I think they and I'm looking at my information over here, and I was trying to pull up your CD, your last CD. I think it say "Thank God for letting me live," and
and please
stop the killing. Let's go back to, before we go back to "Please Stop the Killing," because we certainly want to cover that little piece of that again. Will you talk to us a little bit about the album, the CD itself, and what inspired you to write that song, and just and the other songs that you've written? I know that you've done some teaching and training at the Gospel Music Workshop of America and that kind of thing. If you can talk to us a little bit about that.
Yes, sir. Well, for letting me live, it was more or less, I guess most songs come out of your own personal situations or whatnot, and being at a point where there were times where you may have been close to death, or things of that nature. And I just say, when I tell people that spirit of suicide is a strong thing, because again, you sometimes get to a point where you just tired. You want to give up. You want to quit, and it ain't always because of what other people are doing. And so, but For Letting Me Live really came about doing some situations in my own life, and just saying, hey, regardless of what's going on, just thank God for being alive. Sometimes we may be down and out, but you're still alive. You're still living. So thank God for living, especially when He's brought you through illnesses, sicknesses, things of that nature. You sure enough got a reason to tell God, thank you for letting you live, especially right now, And then, of course, after that, we did It's Gonna Get Better, dealing with situations. Matter of fact, For Letting Me Live was around the time when we were having some killings and stuff, going around in the country as well. So it kind of covers that too. And then, but It's Gonna Get Better. Again, trying to be uplifting, encouraging, inspirational, letting people know it's going to get better. And then, of course, with Please Stop the Killing, just based on what was going around in our areas back, starting around 2017. And we released it in 19. So it was just a buildup of things and senseless killings, senseless shootings, taking people's lives for no reason at all.
And let me say to our audience, we certainly want to encourage them to find that CD. Thank you, God, for letting me live. It's a fantastic song, has great vocals, great sound, and we encourage you guys to do that. Now, in your daily walk with Please Stop the Killing, I know that you have, I think you have two sons that are over the age of 18 or one. That's what I thought. Okay. And being, and I just say it, Pastor Hughes. I'm very candid in my speak. Being a father and being identified, all of us, as being a Black father, and you are a pastor, and you work with law enforcement and that kind of thing. Do you ever have any anxiety about your sons might possibly encountering negative situations just for being, let's just call it what it is, just for being Black boys? I mean, even though they're men,
right?
But just for being Black young men.
Yes, sir, I do, and I think maybe somewhere down the line we might need to get together and do a couple more of these things when we do this little seminar called "Know Your Rights."
Certainly. Listen, I'm going on record live is that we can do those whenever you're ready. I'm all for it. So please continue.
Yeah. And we get an attorney, a lawyer, and a chief of police or somebody, and know you're right, because our young Black people.
Let me help you with one thing, Pastor Hughes. The NAACP actually has a program that's called Know Your Rights, and it's called Cop Stop. And as you say earlier, when we were talking, you say, "Well, are you sure you want to ask me that question? I'm not too happy with the church right now. I'm not too happy with the NAACP leaders, and God rest the dead. One of them are going to sleep. But when all the talk was about talking to the community about how to interact with police, etc., the NAACP had that program going then. I was president of the NAACP in Michigan over 10 years ago before I moved back to Louisiana. And we were doing the program then. And I don't know why in the city as large as Shreveport that we had leadership that was not aware of the program. So please continue.
Yes, sir. So, I mean, like you said, Cop Stop and Know Your Rights. But to answer your question, yes, sir. I mean, we have to, again, as parents, this generation, we have to teach our children what to do when you're stopped, what to do when you're pulled over. No matter how that officer approaches you, you still stay polite, and mannerable. Because most times, if they just say, if I pull you over and you get all belligerent and hype and crazy and start hollering, we're going to still be nice. But if you keep going, eventually that niceness is going to leave, But at the same time, we're not supposed to give back what is given to you, That officer is supposed to keep things calm and as de-escalated as possible. But to answer your question again, yes, sir, I do. And we pray for our kids every day they leave the house. You know, sons, daughters, boys, girls, whoever it is. We got to keep them, because if not, they'll get caught up in what they see on YouTube and reality shows and things of that nature. They don't understand when that bullet hits you, that's real life. You know, a lot of people on TV, they get paid to act like that, and they get up, go get their check, and they go home.
You're right.
But and again, it comes back to our generation of teaching and training and preparing our young people.
Okay. Now, Pastor Hughes, and keep with my word, and hope not keep you any longer than 30 minutes here or less. Is there anything that you feel particularly strong that you'd like to share that we haven't talked about? I mean, I have a ton of questions over here, but I'm not going to do that to you because we haven't talked about some of them. So anything that you want to share, because I want to make sure that we definitely just get everything out we need to get out about Please Stop the Killing, and about any music that you may have coming up in the future, or programs that you may want to cover before we close this program out tonight.
Well, again, just want to say thank you for this opportunity, and to all that are listening and watching. You can either go to YouTube, put my name in, and most of the songs will pop up under either Pastor Donzel Hughes, Voice of Deliverance, or however. But as far as Please Stop the Killing, you know that a black man, 65 years old, was shot and killed
Personally,
by the son of a pawn shop owner that was 23 years old. Shot him, I was told, once in the back of the head and the other one in the back. The man was leaving, and he, you know, and since then, it seemed, I mean, every day something. But because we just got sworn in as, well, I'm the vice president of the NAACP.
hey, congratulations.
And well, thank you, sir. And every day, someone has called, text, message, Facebook, something. What we gonna do? What are we gonna do? And the thing that, and I don't know if you'll agree or not, but you can't protest what you don't know what you're protesting. And my thing is, we can't do anything until the law do what it does. If we feel as though it's injustice or unjustifiable charges or whatever the sentencing may be for him, then we got something to stand against. But then at the same time, I understand this brother's dead over a bad watermelon.
A bad watermelon.
Yeah, it was said that Joe, Lil son, purchased a watermelon, took it home, and it was a bad watermelon because they sell watermelons outside the pawn shop. Went back, and that's when the argument took place. The son came out, went back in, came back out, got his gun. The man was getting ready to leave, walking towards his truck, shot twice.
Over a watermelon. Wow.
A watermelon. Wow. Now, people are saying there may be more to it, but that's the thing, because when they got there, when the officers and everybody else got there, the watermelon was right there next to them. So this is over a watermelon. But at the same time, it's so much more we can maybe say. We'll talk about that off camera. But but just to say, Boulder, we're not going to sleep on this. And I just want people to know, just because you don't see us all rallying and all this right now, it doesn't mean that it's not going to take place. But one thing about NAACP, they're not going to sponsor or promote a rally or protesting or march. But Please Stop the Killing. We can do that. And we will do that. And we're not going to let it sleep. Because when I talked to Joe Williams' mom last Tuesday, she said, he better not walk. He better not walk. And I said, Mother, he ain't going to walk. Because we cannot just let stuff keep happening and we sweep it under the rug. I mean, it's for Boulder, Shreveport, wherever. And of course, they still haven't even locked up the killers of Breonna Taylor yet. So it's a lot. And like when we did the march downtown, it was a march for justice and equality. Justice and equality had to be for everybody across the board. The same thing for everybody. But again, don't sleep on Bossier. We're waiting, and we will act accordingly. We're gonna do it right and in order. So if I get locked up, Brother Lars, you got to come get me that night. Okay, make sure you come get me that night. So have my bail money ready. But we will do what needs to be done. And but I say do it the right way. And the for us again for our music, please go to YouTube, put the names in, you can pull them up, and or you can contact me on Facebook by way of Messenger, Donzel Hughes Sr. And we love to have begin the fellowship with you.
Okay, great, man. And let me say, Pastor Hughes, you're getting a lot of thumbs up and a lot of hearts as you're sharing. And as I've shared with, and we have a lot of new guests tonight as well. As I've shared with our guests many times, that's new to us for the first time. Most of the time, people don't come on and FaceTime. They just kind of watch and send up thumbs, etc. But they do have the opportunity to come on and to FaceTime. And also, last thing I want to share before we end the program, Pastor Hughes, is that I agree with you 100%. People have to understand very simply is that you have to have all your ducks lined up, and you have to know what it is you're doing and talking about. And just on a personal note and a professional note, anytime you shoot somebody from behind, there's no conversation. You're not being threatened. The person is not trying to do anything to you. So that's another story. But anyway, Pastor Hughes, it's been great having you here. And I want to thank our audience for coming to see us again. I am your host, Melvin Casey Lars. You guys know I have a show every Friday night called the Nobody Asked Me Guy Show, and it premieres at 7 p.m. This Friday, we'll have none other than psychotherapist Dr. Jean-Claude Cadet from the Mount Sinai Hospital in New York City. He'll be on talking about this COVID crisis and how health disparities affect the minority community. So please come back and join us with that. Look for our advertisements on Facebook, on FaceTime. Sometimes we put things there, also on LinkedIn, etc. And again, you can contact me very easily at the Nobody Asked Me Guy Show at gmail.com. You can phone our office number at 440-935-0374. It's a dual number, so you can get us most of the time. And we want to encourage each and every one of you that talk about equal justice and that feel very strongly. Our latest book that'll be coming out is called Just an Ordinary George, 846. Your denial is your conscience. The authors are, it's an anthology. The authors are yours truly, Don Cincone, who's a world-renowned artist. If you look up Don Cincone, you'll see that he's a world-renowned artist, do paintings all over the world, etc. And another up-and-coming artist by the name of Darryl Triplett. Now, the cover of our book that you see on the internet is a painting called Standing on Shoulders. And you see all of these icons that you've heard of. But in this particular painting, Don Cincone has also added George Floyd. Now, you may say, why would George Floyd be on there with persons like Eddie Robinson and persons like Frederick Douglass, etc.? Because, listen to the title of the book, Just an Ordinary George. Here's a man that nobody thought of, nobody considered this man, but he has a worldwide, because of his death, he has made just a greater impact as any of those individuals ever did. And he was just an ordinary George. So we want you guys to get that book. There's 3 chapters. Each chapter is about 30 pages long, and it talks about racial hatred and disparity and some of the atrocities that we've dealt with as Black men in the whole nine, and has research in there about George Floyd. So that book is titled Just an Ordinary George, 846. Your conscience is your denial. And right now it's being pre-sold for $24.99. And you can go to paypal.me/BrighterFutures91 and get your pre-order copies today. So listen, it's been great having you guys here with us. Don't forget to come back Friday night and hear Dr. Cadet. And next Sunday, we have some outstanding guests. I don't want to tell you who they are yet because I don't want to let the cat out the bag. But we should have a special guest from Corpus Christi, Texas. But I'm waiting to make sure that he's going to be available. So guys, we have all help me say thank you to Pastor Dunzel Hughes. Again, we need you to get that CD. We need you to support his movement. Please stop the killing. Order you a T-shirt. Get that CD. Get that music that's out there. And those of you that may be in the area that don't mind driving, go and visit St. Elizabeth Baptist Church, and you can hear Pastor Hughes live. If you want Pastor Hughes to come and do some speaking engagements, that type thing at your church, contact St. Elizabeth Church, and they will get you in contact with Pastor Hughes. So again, we want to thank our Pastor.
Or you can
Yeah,
contact
yes,
Reverend
that's
Lawrence.
true. Or you can contact me, and
Yeah,
more than happy
that's right.
to pass that information on. So we want to thank Pastor Hughes again for being with us this evening, and we certainly want to thank all of you because it's certainly been a blast. And again, I can never leave without giving a special shout out to Maya. She's always supporting. She's always here. So guys, have a great and blessed evening.
Thank you. God bless.